Good afternoon. My name is Kaylee Menji. It is January 23rd, 2022. This is my cultural competence reflection video for Education 330, Social Justice for Educators with, I don't remember who my teacher is, McBee. Give me 1 second here. Just go to what's McBee. I can't pull up the actual name right now. Anyway. Okay, let's get this started. All right. So, what does it mean to be a culturally competent educator? To me, to be a culturally competent educator, it means to first of all, what does it mean to be culturally competent? To be culturally competent is to know about the cultures of your students, to know about the traditions, behaviors, beliefs, myths, the stories, histories, and rituals that have been, passed down over time to those students. I believe having a time period devoting to learning about and highlighting the different cultures that the students come from and sharing them with the class or school is huge, possibly mandatory, to really get to learn about the students and their backgrounds and their cultures. Also, the identity of the students and their backgrounds. Just the core of of the being of what drives each person, of each student, and to celebrate that each student is unique, and to celebrate that and to encourage their own voice and encourage their passion. That is also huge. And to be a culturally competent teacher is to identify those the backgrounds of the students, really identify and celebrate the cultures, and identify and celebrate the voices and the passions that your students come from and that they have inside of them, and just really highlight those and really bring them out. It also means to be sensitive about those cultures as well, and those traditions as well, to make sure that what you teach does not clash with cultures or whitewash cultures or deface cultures or traditions of your students, is to be very sensitive and knowledgeable about those and make sure that is reflected in your teachings. So that, to me, is what it means to be a culturally competent teacher. For the culturally competency continuum chart, I see myself looking at this chart. I see myself in kind of spread between the pre-competence, competence, and proficiency, and I'm going to explain that. Mentally and attitude-wise, I am culturally proficient. My attitude is there, where I have that worldview, where my attitude is very, very for justice, very for equality and equity, and wanting those who are in the minority to not be in the minority anymore, to be equal, and for those who are in majority, and for those who are in power, and those who are cruel, to be brought to justice. So that's where emotionally I am, my attitude and my mind is at. Verbally, what I say is pre-competence. I am talking about all of this all the time. This is what we need to do. We need to, we need to be inclusive. We need to, make sure that the differences are not there. That there is no differences. There's no breaks between, anything. That everything is. Let me rephrase that. I value diversity, very value diversity. I'm huge for the more diverse, the better. I'm definitely committed to civil rights and civil justice and social justice. So verbally, I'm all about this. I talk about this all the time. I talk to people about this, my coworkers, my family. They know where I stand verbally. Physically, action-wise, I am culturally competent. I'm taking steps to mindfully behave in a manner that demonstrates the value of our diversity. I'm working at being inclusive. I'm developing cross-cultural knowledge and skills. I'm taking steps to look outside my own worldview to gain accurate understanding. So that's where I'm at on the competence continuum. And in terms of something regarding a specific culturally based issue that affects K-12 education, my essay that I'm doing is on school uniforms. So, like, my cultural proficiency, my essay is that I believe school uniforms are a great thing because they make everyone equal in terms of how they look. You don't have anybody. The social economic statuses are much harder to see if everyone is wearing the same clothing. It cuts down on bullying. It cuts down on a lot of other stuff. So to me, that I see that as kind of it works towards the greater good. It's expressed, commitment to human and civil rights. It breaks down the social, or it not breaks down, I don't want to say it hides the social economic status, but it makes it harder for other people to see if it's a problem in terms of bullying and stuff like that. That is harder to see. So I guess it does hide it a little bit. At least it brings it equal. So that does commitment to, like, human civil rights and social justice, I guess. Wow, I really did not think this through, and I deeply apologize. I apologize so much. But it did make me question the validity of segregation and our assimilation. I mean, I've walked I went back and forth on this uh, argument for about 3 days before I settled on, I think um, uniforms are a good thing, because while they do make everyone look the same in terms of simulation, they also, they do break down it stops the segregations in terms of social economic status. It does stop the bullying, or at least lowers the bullying, and just stops a lot of the segregation in the schools in terms of that status. So anyway, the next step for me to deepen my cultural competence will just be, for lack of a better word, cultural integration. I need to go to cultures that I'm not really familiar with, places that I'm not familiar with. I mean, I grew up in a white neighborhood, and I'm used to that kind of culture. I know enough. I don't know enough, but I'm assuming, black culture from, what has been shown on, television and movies, and, what I've seen in my day-to-day life, just out in the world, but I don't know what it's like in schools. So that's something I'm going to need to actually learn I'm going to need to learn. I might need to, between now and when I become a teacher, I might need to actually go and spend time with, black communities and get to know them, and get to know the children and the parents and the families, and get to know their histories, which would be really cool. Maybe I'm going to do that for some, Asian communities, and some, Indo-Chinese communities. I don't know. Whatever communities that my students come from, I'm going to need to go spend time in those communities to really understand those students. So that is my next steps. And that would go with the specific research and readings too. There is no greater research for me than immersion. So I would have to just immerse myself in those communities and just learn everything that I can from just being. For me to have cultural inclusivity in my future classroom, the biggest one would be just really asking those students, who they are, where they come from, what makes them unique and special, and what they can teach us, and what they want to share with us that makes them unique and special. And then we would just find a way to celebrate it, whether it's a holiday that they celebrate, or if it's a clothing they wear, or if it's a greeting they have, something that was specific to them. We would find a way to celebrate it and make that special and unique about them. There was a way we could do it, once or twice a week. That'd be great. Once a week or once a month, that'd be awesome. Every week or every month, I would celebrate something specific about each of my students. It would just be a way to keep that alive, keep it specific to my student, but also keep it alive to the classroom, and just really focus on what makes my students unique and special, but also tied to their culture and their history and their traditions. And honestly, if it's whether or not their personal backgrounds and skills align with my spiritual beliefs, it doesn't matter, as long as they do it in a loving, respectful way. That's all I really care about. It's not my job to indoctrinate these children. It's my job to love them and teach them as a teacher, and that is what I'm going to do.